Good afternoon again, beautiful souls. Nathan here on our day 3 of our talk. It's a little bit cooler today. Um, I think it's around about the same time, but it's a little bit cooler, and I've just found some new trails. So I thought I'd have a talk while I'm doing these new trails that I've found. So today's title is "What We Have Gained by Letting Go." I think what people have to realize sometimes when you live this lifestyle is, things that get overlooked. I think there's a lot of things that do get overlooked while, you're kind of, when people see us living this kind of lifestyle, I want to talk about the things that we kind of let go of. I think a lot of the things that we've gained since living this lifestyle has been immense. I've kind of briefly touched on a few things yesterday and stuff on previous videos, but I think, we've gained a lot, and I think this, there's kind of almost an illusion that, giving up things means losing something valuable. But for us, I think letting go was just the beginning, really, just the beginning of everything for us. It's not that, like, giving up physical things it might seem daunting to some, to others it may not. I'm just kind of trying to have a look around here. I've got a few different paths to take, and I don't know which one to take. Let's go, carry on going forwards. So I think, when, for example, when we let go of the house, it was almost like letting go of a safety net, for Sam especially. I know in the first year it was kind of like a little bit of a safety net, because if we needed to go back to the house for any reason, it was there. So, almost that safety net is we've still got a house if we need it. Routines, we let go of routines. Doing the school run, getting Dylan up in the morning, because that was a nightmare trying to get Dylan up for school in the morning, because he hated it so much, where he was getting bullied and picked on all the time. It was a real, again, I'm just going to kind of have a look around and see. There's loads and loads of different trails, and they all lead off in different directions. So Dylan was like, really, he hated it. He hated school with a passion. Because of the way school was for him. He really didn't like it. The shoulds of, like almost the pressures of keeping up with everybody else. I'm going on this holiday. I go away 2 or 3 times a year because, this is what we do, and, we live a better life than you, and I've got the biggest TV, I've got massive TV, and yours is really tiny compared to mine, or I've got the best car, or just random stuff really. And it kind of, again, they're attachments, and like I said yesterday, or in one of the other conversations, that's in the kind of sales marketing world, if you like, it's what we call keeping up with the Joneses. And that's just something that we didn't need to do. It's something we didn't really need to do. And I think when we kind of let go of all of that, we gained so much. We really did. I mean, we gained time. Time is a massive thing. We've gained time to spend with each other, to go exploring with each other, to explore different places in the UK, to explore different countries. That was a massive thing for us, time. We're not in any deadlines. We don't have to be here for a certain, point in time, you know, obviously when we turn up to a sit, we have to kind of plan the times for the trains and the routes that we're going to go. But once we're there, you know, we're not bound by clocks. We're not bound by time. You know, time is kind of an illusion in itself, really. You know, we gained presence again. You know, walking out here, we gain the spirituality of feeling present in the moment. You know, whether it's me walking through the woods, or, you know, by the beach, or wherever it is, you know, we feel the presence. So we gain the presence. And, you know, especially when we're with each other, you know, the three of us walking and talking and just living life without a care in the world. Because, you know, now we're free, we can do that. You know, we've also gained connection, furthermore on the connection with ourselves, you know. Whereas before, Dylan would come in and, you know, he'd be really angry coming back from school, and he'd tell us, you know, what's been going on at school, and he'd have his meltdowns, and then obviously we'd have the meltdown in the morning. And, you know, me and Sam, we were together all the time, and not really doing anything, stuck in a house within four walls, not really doing nothing. The only time we probably did do something is, you know, maybe we went over to the local park with Dylan or whatever, and dependent on the weather, obviously, we might go to the local pub or whatnot. And, you know, there was nothing to talk about. And I'm sure some of you, or a lot of you, would have kind of have gone through that scenario, or you are currently going through that scenario, you know, where there is just nothing to talk about. You're with each other 24/7, or, you know, if you're not, maybe one of you's working, one of you's a stay-at-home mum or something like that. You know, how was your day? Yeah, good. Yeah, okay. And, you know, there's not really much to talk about. So, you know, when we're doing this, when we're traveling, when, say for example, I'm coming out on my walks, or Sam goes off with Dylan, Sam's off with Dylan now swimming at the swimming pool. So, you know, we're each having that connection. We you know, do things together, we do things separately, but, you know, we do what we want. And, you know, again, it just boils down to the life of the freedom and doing what you want, you know. Because it really is truly an amazing way to live. When you just wake up in the morning and know you've not got to go to work, you know, you can get up and do whatever you want when you want. You know, if you want to lay in bed till 12 o'clock, lay in bed till 12 o'clock. If you want to get up at 6 to watch the sunrise, or 5, or whatever time of the year it is, get up and watch the sunrise. If you want to go out for a walk, go out for a walk. You know, it gives you the time to do whatever you want to do. So the connection there between all of us, and especially coming out for walks, or, you know, doing whatever we do, is the connection to everything. That's massive. That's massive thing that we gained. You know, letting go created space for us. Letting go of the house created the space for us to come traveling. You know, we don't have to worry. You know, I think we've still got the house, but by the end of the year, we're going to give the house up completely, because we've realised that, you know, we don't need that safety net. We really don't. You know, and we've been booked out all this year with no worries, going from one to the next. So, you know, it's just another rent that we're paying when we don't need to pay for it. Again, something tying us, as an attachment tying us to somewhere. You know, which that's probably practically the last string that we can cut off, to be fair. Once we let go of the house, then we are completely free of everything, of every system. You know, we kind of, we don't have rent to pay, we don't have our bills to pay, we don't, you know, no gas, no electric bills. You know, we don't have none of that, none of Sky, or, you know, maybe Virgin or whatever. We don't have none of that, because each place we go to, they've already got that. So, you know, we don't need that. We haven't got any of that sort of stuff. You know, as long as we've got the clothes on our backs, you know, we kind of, obviously, you know, we do this for a living full time. We're just about to launch our own company, hopefully touchwood in August. And, you know, that will continue creating the income for us to keep moving forwards, without having to worry about getting up and working or anything like that. It automatically takes care of itself, the way we've planned the business out. So, you know, that, I think that's one of the major things. And, you know, it's not always easy. It's not always easy, this life on the road. you know, Sam gets panicked and stressed out when it's time to move on. In actual fact, today we've got rid of, we usually travel, so I've got my backpack, not this one, a big one. I've got my backpack. Sam has a suitcase, Dylan has his suitcase, and this little bag Dylan carries. And Sam also has a backpack, a little one. But today we've made the decision that we're getting rid of the suitcases because it makes it easier. Excuse me. It makes it easier for us to travel if we're not lugging suitcases around. So we've just ordered 3 new backpacks and 3 90-litre backpacks, one for each of us. We're downsizing on clothes, whatever we're not using right now, whatever we're not wearing that's stuck in the wardrobes wherever we are. You know, that's going to be thrown away, gone. And we will just live out of the rucksacks. You know, it's easier to travel, easier to get around with. So, you know, again, it's letting go of something else that makes us even more freer to move and do what we want, especially when we're traveling abroad. So there's lots of things that, you know, that we can get rid of that makes it easier. You know, that's just one kind of the headaches when traveling full time, especially if you've got a family, is, you know, what do we take, what don't we take, how do we live, you know, as minimal as possible, as long as you've got a few outfits. I know in the UK it's quite hard because you never know what the weather's going to do from one day to the next, but I think, you know, pack minimalistic, pair of trainers, pair of shoes or whatever you want, jogging bottoms, shorts, couple of t-shirts. That is pretty much how I'm going to be traveling from now on. A pair of jeans if it gets colder, and that is pretty much me done. You know, but by doing this, you know, we've received in return from giving up all this stuff, we've received, you know, we're now free. The truth of living free, the truth of you know, how we live our lives and the systems that kept us tired and down and depressed and you know, I think that the truth of knowing everything, you know, and now coming through that and not coming from a place of lack or not coming from a place of scarcity, I think that's one of the biggest things for me, for all of us actually. You know, we don't lack anything now. We're not, things aren't scarce. So I just got a doggy coming towards me, interested in. So yeah, you know, it's been a bit different. It's been a lot different actually. But you know, if you're not coming from that place of scarcity, you're not coming from that place of lack. You know, we don't want for anything anymore. We don't need anything anymore. You know, we're just kind of drifting. You know, through life, happy together. You know, it makes such a difference. Such a difference. So maybe the question isn't what are you kind of willing to let go of. Maybe that's not the question. Maybe it's what's waiting for you on the other side of letting go of all those things that are tying you down. The house, the car, the job, the family, whatever it may be. Maybe that's the question you should be asking. You know, what's on the other side of that? Well, I can tell you what's on the other side. It's freedom. It's the freedom to choose what you want to do, not be told what you want to do. It's the freedom of getting up and doing whatever you want that day. That's what you get. The freedom to do that, the freedom to live together as a family unit or as a couple or whatever your unit is. Maybe you're single, I don't know. But you know, the freedom to do just pretty much whatever you want. Because I've just come into an open space. So you know, I think that's one of the questions maybe you should be asking. You know, just wait for that wind to die down a second. What is waiting for you on the other side? That wind's just come out of nowhere. I'm just about to head back through a forest anyway, I think, if I find another trail that goes through that way. You know, because I think the moment you realise what wasn't ours to carry. You know, I'm not fussed about having a house. It doesn't bother me in the slightest. Not fussed about not having a car. You know, we haven't got a car. We use public transport. Doesn't bother me. Doesn't worry me. The amount of money that I'm saving on car tax, road tax, fuel for the car, you know, we're saving all of that. So that doesn't bother me. I know Sam wants to get, maybe next year, she maybe wants to get like a motorhome sort of thing and try the van life sort of thing for a bit. So maybe we might try that next year. Rather than flying or training from one place to the next, maybe we'll drive and have some stopovers to see even more of the countries that we're traveling through. So maybe that is an option. So, you know, we've finally have the room now to receive everything that always was ours. You know, the freedom to do whatever you want as a family, whenever. And I think realistically, that is all anybody ever wants. You know, so stop coming from a place of scarcity, thinking, oh, you know, I haven't got the money to do that, or, you know, I've got the house, or, you know, I just can't do that. Stop coming from a place of lack. You know, we wasn't born with that. We wasn't born. These systems created scarcity and lack within us. So now we kind of just have to think, well, you know, I can't do that because of X, Y, and Z. The truth is, you can do anything you want. As once you start to get that in your head and you start to get rid of those systems that are tying you, you know, in that vibration, they're tying you to that negative way of thinking and thought that you can't do this. You know, maybe you've got parents that say, oh, you can't do this, or you've got friends saying, oh, I wouldn't do that. It's your choice. You've got the choice, the freedom to choose what you want to do. So try doing that. You know, try doing something out of the norm. See if it feels, get my words out again. See if it feels comfortable or not. Try doing something out the norm. You know, just try it. You might like it. We was actually talking to a couple on the holiday park where we are last night. Actually, she's a dog walker up in Scotland. So we was talking to them, and you know, they're intrigued by the way we live our lives, and that there are more and more people looking at the way me and Sam and others are living this way of life, because you know, it is total freedom. You've got no one to answer to. You know, you're not trapped in any of these old systems that keep you trapped. You're just not anymore, and it's so uplifting not to have all of that over your head and tying you down and dragging you down. It really is. It's so yeah, it's just so good for the soul just to not have to worry. And once that burden has been lifted, oh my God, life starts to become amazing. It really does. Anyway, I've waffled on a bit for today, haven't I? I tend to do that. I was trying to keep it to around 10 minutes. I'm now at 18 minutes. So just another, you know, few tips and topics to think about. If you're following this journey, maybe you want to try it. Just give it a go. Anyway, guys, love and light to you all. I will see you on my walk tomorrow. Take care.